horrible accident, a family going over a California cliff in their Tesla, but miraculously surviving. Now the story has taken a shocking turn. Police have arrested the father, who just happens to be a doctor, and charged him with attempted murder.
Hi, welcome to Luminal, and for today's story, we're going to go over the family that was driving a Tesla, and it ended up going off a cliff called the Devil's Slide, plummeting around 400 feet straight to the bottom. Alright, so in San Francisco, there's this cliff called the Devil's Slide. Now, this cliff was notorious for being super dangerous, and they ended up closing it down, and now it's like a place where bicycle people and hikers will go and do trails. So the way the road works is they actually built a tunnel so that you go in, so you actually don't have to drive on that side of the cliff anymore. You actually go through this tunnel, and if you want to ride the trail, you get into the parking lot and you're able to actually walk it, and you're not allowed to really drive up there. So this brings me to Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel is a doctor who's a radiologist, and he had a family of 4. So basically it was him and his wife and his 2 kids. All of his neighbors thought he was a really nice guy.
I would say picture perfect. Everything from just, they're always the family that's outside in the cul-de-sac, inviting everyone to come outside with them.
He was noted to always send out like greeting cards basically for like Christmas, showing his family, and they just looked all perfect. He would even give presents to like his neighbors and stuff. You know, all around just seemed like a good doctor kind of guy, very good guy. And one day he was driving on this highway with his kids and his wife, and a bystander actually saw it happening. She said that she saw him go up the highway basically towards the Devil's Slide, and he went up an exit where you're not supposed to go, where you're not supposed to be able to drive over there, and he went that way. And the bystander that saw him driving said that he looked like he was going super fast and he shouldn't be over there, and he ended up driving straight off the cliff with his whole family inside. He had the mom and he had the 2 kids and then himself as well. And she saw the Tesla drive off the cliff and then just drop down, and she immediately called the police and then tried to get people to come.
I'm seeing this car drive fast. It didn't look like it was trying to stop, essentially. I thought there's no way this was an accident.
Report of a white Tesla off the roadway, vehicle down into the rocks.
So the rescuers get there, and they ended up flying 3 helicopters, and they basically flew over to the Devil's Slide, and then they dropped these 30-foot rope to basically go down there and like see the wreckage. Now the people who are doing these rescues say that this happens really often, and they're used to seeing like really traumatic events, and basically when they get to the car, everyone's dead, and it's just a total mess. But when they got down there and they went to go see what the damage was,
we were actually very shocked when we found survivable victims in the vehicle.
They found all 4 of them still alive in the Tesla, which is pretty crazy because, again, they fell 200 to 300 feet straight down, in a car, so it's picking up momentum. It's gonna be a pretty big smash. And they were all alive, and not only were they alive, they were conscious, and the kids didn't really have too much damage on them. So I guess the Tesla's like a really good car, because if you can fall 200 feet and survive, it's a pretty good car. But that's besides the point. So once they were found all conscious and awake, they basically airlifted them to the helicopters, and they were taken to a nearby hospital. Now we're gonna backtrack a little bit, because when they went to go ask the neighbors basically how he was, they all had pretty good things to say. Like I said, picture perfect family. But there was one neighbor who looked like she was just being pretty nosy. She was looking out her window, and she had noticed that he had been a little off that day. Honestly, the things that she was saying, super nosy things like, oh, he didn't bring his trash can in the same time he usually does, and he didn't say hi. Just weird things that, only a neighbor would be able to pick up on. But after doing a little bit more research, it turns out that the cops were actually called to his house 9 times already prior to this event happening. And he was saying that there was intruders maybe around his property, but when the cops got there, they didn't see anything, and he said they must have gone away. Which I think is kind of weird, because to do it once, maybe, yeah, there might not be people there when the cops arrive, but to do it 9 times, maybe he's a little crazy. Maybe he's not in the right state of mind. Maybe he thinks there's people around him, which could explain how and why he may have wanted to do this. So basically, they take them to the hospital, they get checked up, and it turns out that they believe that the dad actually did this on purpose. He wanted to drive off this cliff and kill his whole family. But basically, when he drove off the cliff, the car ended up doing multiple flips, like literally front flips, and landed straight on its wheels. So it didn't land upside down or anything. Maybe if it did land upside down, you know, might be looking at a different story, but it actually landed on its wheels, but it flipped 200 to 300 feet down. You know, that's super deadly. So what they ended up doing is, while he was in the hospital, they charged him with attempted murder and child abuse, and they're looking into it basically to find out what his motive was. Now, this happened about 2 weeks ago. I looked around to see if there was a motive. No motive as of yet. Like, at least they didn't release it. So once there is a motive, maybe we will dive back into this and figure out really why he did this. But I just thought it was pretty crazy that this guy drove a Tesla off a 200-foot cliff trying to kill his whole family, and they actually survived. I don't know if it's just a really good car or they got really, really lucky, but yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy.